edition of the New Jack Swing podcast, episode 38. And yes, we're doing TLC. But Stevie, how you doing today?
I'm in good spirits, sir. How are you?
Doing well. I mean, for those of you, and Matt, for those of you here in Europe, you realize that we are playing the European Cup, and we both support England. And yes, let's just say a team that has Michael Jordan is able to pull the rabbit out the hat, but he sometimes does need a good coach. And Phil Jackson was good enough to support the Lakers, but man, do we have not the best manager. But anyway, unexpected 10, but I'm ready. Okay.
You're English, you're feeling a bit exhausted this evening after a torturous game of football.
Yes.
We've got the Euro 2024s going on. We've got the country's elections going on. So it's all happening this summer in the UK. If you're a resident, it's all happening for you. Spain are playing at the moment. They're currently 2-1 up against Georgia. But what a torturous match that was. Now.
Yes, it definitely was.
I don't know how we got to that quarter-final, but we're playing on 5 o'clock this Saturday. Next Saturday we'll be playing against Switzerland. So
okay, that's good because we're interviewing Crystal Johnson next week Saturday. So it seems as if the match will be over just before we start. So that's definitely going to be a good thing.
We've got a guy called Beckwith on Thursday evening as well. He's got a new album out, which is very New Jack Swing, 90s hip hop soul. BKWH is the name of his album, Beckwith. So we'll talk to him from the UK. Give his album a plug. Plug. Probably really needs the support, so we can do that.
And also for the first time we are live on Instagram as well.
Really?
So, yes. If you check out your phone, you'd see that we're live on Instagram as well. I just managed to learn how to get it. I just managed to learn how to get that done. So I just managed to learn to get that done. But Sheldon is going to be joining us. He said he might be a little late, so yeah. So we'll wait for him to come on. But yes, so you've mentioned Beckwith, where he's going to be coming on live on the 4th of July. It's going to be strange. 3 Englishmen had chatting on Independence Day in America, but that should be good. And next week I should be interviewing Mr. Darkchild, Rodney Jerkins. He's returning. He's now starting his very first record label, and so it's going to be. I'm going to be talking to him about, why now with a label. What's the purpose of what kind of artist? What's he doing? As well as there's just a number of more people coming down and stuff like that. But any new music and stuff like that?
There is actually. Coincidentally, we did the High Five top 10 last week. It's this brand new album out. It's his second album. It's called Aaron Frazier, Into the Blue. He's like an independent soul artist, but he samples on one of the tracks. The track is called Fly Away, and it samples High Five Fly Away, and it even sounds like Tony Thompson's featuring in it because his vocals. He's left his vocals in on the chorus. It's a fantastic track.
Wow!
So it's well worth checking out. It's a brand new album, Aaron Frazier, Into the Blue, and I've got something old actually that I knew nothing about. Even after 30, 40 years of collecting New Jack Swing, it's amazing how I find something that really surprises me that's out there that's released that I knew nothing about. This is one for all the New Jack Swing hardcore collectors. There's these guys here, young white dudes called Just Because. The album's called Why. It's on a Christian gospel label called Word. They can't sing very well. They're a bunch of kids. It is like it's like Another Bad Creation, but they're a bit more they're not as wild. You can actually listen to this album on YouTube. If you want a CD copy, though, I think there may be a couple left on eBay, but they're very hard to get now. You know, they'll be paying about between $5 and $20 for this if you can get one. But that's my tip tonight. Just because, like you say, I've never knew nothing about this. Quite funny listen though, because they can't sing very well.
Okay.
Just because, you know, check them out.
Hey, David. Welcome.
Mini boys to men. A miniature boys to men.
Yes. Okay. So, I think, as I said, Sheldon will be joining us. But what's been your thoughts on TLC? You know, the fact that
it's a credit to them that after the huge loss that they suffered many years ago, they're still able to keep going. Really, the two of them. They're still touring. They're still releasing music. You know, they've put how many out? I think they've released one album as a duo since. They've got they have got a bed of songs there that have stood the test of time, which we'll get into tonight. So I'm just looking at who's joined already. Lottin, M-Mac, Chin Beats, Music Lover, David Yardin, Old School Flavors with us. Derek Malloy with us, Alex Clark. Good evening to you all. Thank you for joining us.
And for those who are just joining, we've just said for the first time we are live on Instagram as well. So this it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out.
We're live on X and Twitter. We're live on Facebook. We're live on Instagram.
Yes, we
are
spreading. We are live everywhere. Miss Seven, good evening.
On the New York, on the Manhattan,
Times
New York
Square.
City.
Yes, in Times Square. Yeah. Yeah. So as I said, Sheldon would join us, but you know what? And Mac was saying it is an interesting sort of thing with TLC because I think people might be. I don't know if people might be divided on. On TLC as a group because they had an amazing debut album, really shook the industry because it was unique and different. The sophomore album took them to another level, both critically acclaimed, going diamond, winning Grammys and things like that. Then they had the whole interesting thing about losing money and after selling so much, shed a light on the industry. But then I do wonder if their third album, didn't sort of propel them further, and that partly might be because Lisa Left Eye, was so prominent when they started, and then with each album she had her role limited. And she probably just thought, "What's the point?" And that's when she wanted to go solo. But there was a sense of, in order to really propel you guys, we need to do more of the singing and less of that sort of hip hop stuff that really started them. And so, to me, I'm listening to each of the albums after their debut album, and Lisa's less prominent compared to when she started. And I do wonder how much that affected their status of being even bigger, or if say, what did Destiny's Child do, and did the label look at Destiny's Child and think, well, this is how to go ahead and become, sell more records, so let's go in that direction. Did you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's interesting you pointed that out. I think after it was probably during this time period when they probably had the biggest hit to date, worldwide hit with No Scrubs, that it started to fall apart, didn't it? It was falling apart with issues with money during the second album because they weren't getting any money. But this is I reckon from this time period, this is where it started to fall apart. Where they were global superstars by then. Why there was maybe it was over money? Was it over features? I don't know. I've seen a few documentaries now. I just think Lisa got married. She got married. I think spiritually she changed. You know, her head spiritually just seemed to go off in a completely different direction to the other girls. It's like friends growing apart, and you know, as you grow up, you grow apart, and maybe that's what happened between the three of them. They just by this album, they were growing apart. So I don't know. You know, that's how I saw it anyway.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, you know, it's Lisa was looking for a solo deal with
Yeah.
Suge too. You know, and I think Suge Knight started to smell when he saw unhappy artists not making their money, and they're seeing what he was doing at Death Row. So he was probably promising a lot of people, sort of like Jodeci and Left Eye. But I did, as I said, it was quite evident as she was doing, um, as she was still as the albums were being released, she was becoming less prominent. Jimmy says, "I still don't believe Pebbles did what she did to them, but that's for another conversation."
Well, we can talk about that. I mean,
Yeah,
she doesn't get the credit. She gets a lot of criticism because of contracts and money that they didn't seem to get. But you got to credit her. She put the group together. You know, she
yeah,
spotted that talent, put that together, and molded it into what we saw. So she deserves a lot of credit for that.
yeah. And you know what? You know, she won a lawsuit against Lifetime, the TV miniseries that painted her in a sort of a bad light, that gave the image that she was the one who stole their money. Whereas she won that because actually, even Lele Reid had to say actually it wasn't her. It's understanding the standard production deals that they signed, understanding how the labels work. And I've got a really interesting interview coming up with Tony Rich, who was signed to LaFace, and he's extremely complimentary about Pebble. So that starts next week. But I think just like every other guest that we've seen, you know, Trisha Covington saying, "Look, no one taught them the business." And you just want to be in front of the cameras. You want to be a star, and you are making, you know, Waterfalls cost 1 point something million to make. You know, and of course they assumed that that money was going to be paid for the label. They didn't realize that it was on them. All these expenses, no one tells them that actually it's on you. And so, you know, I think Dallas Austin said in an interview that they shot Creep, the video, twice. The one that we see now with them dancing, that's the second version of the video. But the TLC would have paid for the first video and the second video out of their own budget. So any money that comes in, they'll say, "Well, take the money back from Creep before we pay you." So that was all the whole business situation that every artist that we see faces without knowing that. And it was easy to blame Pebbles because, oh, we were signed to her, um, you know. But as I said, hopefully I'll get Pebbles on. She has said she wasn't ready right now. I will still try and make that move again.
Well, we'd all love to hear a story. I think she's been silent for too long. You know, we love Pebbles. You know what I mean? She was huge back then, and
Yeah,
you know she should get her flowers. You know,
yeah,
not just what she did as an artist in her own right. She did some great records. You know.
yeah. I'm sure that will happen. But anyway, do you know what? Do you we can both start, as I said. Hopefully he joins us.
How many honourable mentions have you got? Because I've got a lot for this one actually.
You
Quite
know,
a lot.
we can. Yeah, well, I've only got 5 honorable mentions. So I went through four. I went through 4 albums. Um, I must say I didn't go through the Christmas album, but I went through 4 of the TLC albums, and I wanted to see if I songs that I thought were okay. But yeah, just 4. I mean, I have to say that out of their 4 albums, my favorite was their first. I think I had more, and what I did, and what I always try and do is to try and make sure that in my top 10 I've got songs from each album, so that I'm not front loading with just one album and stuff. So I've got at least 2 songs from each album. but I think there were more songs and honorable mentions from the first album, and there'll be some surprise ones that people
first
will be
album
shocked.
is such a feel good album. It's
No lyrics, yeah.
it's a very upbeat, happy. It's when you see when you look at the story of them at the beginnings of that story. It's just I love that period in the documentary or the remake film of how they were put together and how happy they were and the clothes and the styles.
Yeah.
And I think by the time Crazy Sexy Cool came out, I think that's when they got serious. I mean that's a great album in itself. It was a serious R&B album. I'll be honest, I struggled with this album. I know it was probably one of their bigger albums, but I really, really
No,
struggled.
it was their third selling, so it was their third selling. So their fan mail, I think I only had
That's more
two
to do with
songs.
the time period of R&B and the production sounds, how they changed by the late 90s.
Yeah,
But I really struggled with this.
they used to dance there. So when they first came out, she was a beast. Yeah, all different feels from each album. Yeah, definitely. And Chibik, well, yeah, none of those Stevie remix hidden gem. We want we want to focus on the album stuff. I mean, he can talk about them, and they had some great remixes in this 12-inch he got. But we we want to see, if you listen to the album, which song will come out from that.
Well, I'll be honest, my top 10 is a mix of album cuts and remixes, Nnamdi. You didn't say that we couldn't do remixes.
We don't. But when we do remixes, we
That's
normally have
my
a
top 10. I'm sorry. I'm sticking with.
when we do remixes, we normally have a separate list with
You didn't
remixes.
tell me we was going to do that one, though.
So guys, I'm making it public enough. When we're doing our top 10, we're looking at the albums, and because Stevie will bring in remixes, which it's almost saying that it's not as good as for the album, but
I don't know. They're still great songs in their own right.
yeah, okay.
Can we really start without Sheldon, though?
He did mention that he doesn't know how long it might take, but if he can join, he will join. So yeah,
I'll tell you what. Put the link out there. See if anybody in the chat tonight wants to just come on for 5 minutes and give us their maybe top 5 TLC tracks. See if anybody wants to do that while we wait for Sheldon. Does any of you want to do that? Do you want to give us your brave enough to come on and give us your TLC memories or your top 5s? There's plenty of you out there tonight, and I know you're probably not set up to go live, but why not? Good evening to Anna. How you doing? Good evening to Niddy. Has anyone else joined us live while we're here?
Yeah, there's Marco that has joined
us. Miss Swavion is with us as well.
NDDD. Yeah, okay. I can see how if the N and the D was switched around, that would be very suspect. So, but we're glad that you're there. Yeah. Okay. I put in the link. If anyone wants to come on and give us their top, give us a sense of what top 10 songs.
The first album for you was your favorite. What did you make of this album overall then?
No, I got the album, and I think I've got like 4 songs on them. I think there were some really good things on them, and at the time, they had some really big songs that really blew up. But I think listening now, because there's a difference. Because when this album came out, you're really caught up with what's going on. So of course you buy you're buying the album, you're enjoying it. What happens is that now, 20 years later, you're listening back, and you're like, okay, it wasn't as, the hype's gone. It was as good as it was. Does it still stay the test of time? And so it doesn't do as much to me as it did at the time when I first listened to it. I mean, there's certain albums like My Life album, I can still listen to that and think, wow, or like most people would Waiting to Exhale, or Any Heartbreak, or even any of those ones. So, Charles, do you want to come on? I've put the link, so anyone wants to come out and give their top 10, because we're still waiting for Sheldon. So if everyone wants to come on and I don't even know if I should say of people brave enough to come on. It seems to be. I would have thought it'd be straightforward.
Well, whether they've got an actual setup to come on live, so
yeah. So, but anyway, I think I think the first album, not only was it a unique album and it really set them apart, but I think they had some really good, strong songs as well. It's almost like Dallas was, experimenting. They gave him that opportunity. But also, I think who else again? Did you realize they had Marley Marl on 2 songs?
Oh yeah, on the first album.
On the first album, Marley Marl did a couple of productions on that album. Then Daryl Stillman's did his, some stuff with KO. So it was almost like they,
for me as well. She is credited on a lot of the tracks.
Who's that?
Well, I wouldn't say it's a secret, but it's an untalked about 4th member of TLC.
Who's that?
If anyone in the
Deborah Killings?
Sorry? Yes, you got it. Say the name again.
Is it Deborah Killings?
Yes, she wrote a lot of the tracks. She sung backing vocals. I even think she sung lead. Not lead, but some of the verses as well that just don't get talked about,
Okay. DJ Sotar just said he gave his top 5. He doesn't have time to come on board, but he put "Ain't Too Proud to Beg," "Move Out" remix. Okay, Creep, Untouchables remix. You guys have the remixes. Hat to the Back, Case of the Fake People. What album was that on? And Over Me. Okay. Deborah Killings plays bass. I think Deborah Killings. I mean, she'd be one of those people. You know what happens is like I think I tried to look out for her a while back, but I will try and get it.
She's not that active on social media. She pops up every now and again, but I'd love to get her story because she was part of 2 groups before she started working with TLC. She was part of Modest Folk. In fact, I've got a picture of her here. I'm talking about this lady here. There she is. She was in this group with a brother. I think it was a brother anyway.
Who's that?
That's Deborah Killings. That is her there.
Mm.
Yeah, and before that, she was part of Princess and the Starbreeze. That who was it you interviewed a few weeks ago? She mentioned Princess and the Starbreeze. Producer singer who played bass. Forgot.
Joyce Herbie.
Yeah, you did when she mentioned Princess. I thought you didn't pick up on that because I thought, damn, that's Deborah Killings. I wonder if she still talks to her.
Okay, Miss Savia says she can't come on, or she'll be like the Angie Stone interview. And if anyone has seen the Angie Stone interview, Angie Stone was laying down in her bed and. Yeah, it's a strange interview. Is the title the same as?
I see you still promoting that interview, aren't you? Though
it's still Angie Stone, but okay. You should keep game at number 10. Red Light Special, Creep, get it up. Something Wicked this week. Something Wicked this way comes. Sled White. As I said. I didn't listen to the Christmas album, so I know some people might be putting a Christmas album in there.
That sleigh ride was on Home Alone 2 soundtrack.
Okay.
I didn't know that. When I was doing my little research tonight, I thought, it was actually on that soundtrack, was it? Home Alone 2.
Okay. Yeah, and they had a track on the Waiting to Exhale album, which I thought was okay, but I didn't think it was one of the strongest songs. What About Your Friend? Something You Want to Know? His Story. All I Want for Christmas. Something You Want to Know.
See, I don't remember All I Want for Christmas. I only know Sleigh. I only really listen to Sleigh Ride. That's a number. So you got a Christmas track at number 1, Mrs. Swavion.
Wow. Yeah. I think that's music tip and reviews with JG. But we got a bonus. Let's Do It Again. I'm Pretty, Baby, 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 Creep. Red Light Special and Digging a New.
Great tracks.
Yeah, Digging a New. Okay, I didn't mind that one. I thought that was a good one. Um, is that was on the Love Face Christmas album? Yeah, I didn't mind Digging a New. I think yeah, I think that as I said, there were some good tracks on the Creep album, but I think it's always hard when you are trying to judge a top 10 from as I said 30 years ago, listening today. I mean, and so if some of the things bring back nostalgia, some of the songs you're like, okay, back then I would have really enjoyed it, but right now, I think when I listen to fan mail, I was surprised how many I didn't like. Then I think the 3D album, I think it was. I was a little surprised with that one. I thought there wasn't any cohesion with that album. It was like, okay, let's get Pharrell, let's get the Neptunes. Okay, we got some Dark Child. Okay, we got Missy Timberland, and it was just like everyone giving them a different sound, and it was just like there was no cohesion. It was not it didn't feel like a TLC song, and they didn't utilize Left Eye, even though they had opportunity to use some of her Supernova tracks. It just felt like, let's just sing some songs and let's go with it. So I was a little disappointed with that. Um, Way back featuring Snoop. What was that album on?
That was on the
That was the fifth album.
Yeah, the crowdfunded album.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a good track as well. I really enjoyed that. It's one of my favourites on that album.
Okay. No, I don't think I didn't. Yeah, I didn't really check that out. Okay. So, judging by, do you think TLC cover Prince "If I Was You" will make?
Could do. It's a good, it's a good call. That.
So, okay, Marco thinks that all their best records were done by L.A. Reid and Dal Simmons. L.A. and Babyface with Dal Simmons. If I look at it, I probably have two tracks by that combination.
I'd say Dallas Austin did make some strong tracks with them, but LA, both of them producers, I think, worked very well with TLC. If I'm honest.
Yes. Okay. Well, and looking at the time and looking at the flow of things, none of our audience wants to come on and join us, and so we probably might have to give a start, and hopefully he joins us. But if not, yes. So starting with my number 10, and what I probably should have done here is to be able to, because when let me see my number 10, from which album was that? That was give it to me. Yeah, so this is from the 3D album, and as I mentioned, actually, let me come out of it here, because as I was going through the CD, going through all their albums, I wanted to really give them all an opportunity and make sure I got the and got all the good stuff. So David was saying that he was surprised that Jermaine Dupri didn't do much songs. So what I heard from Tony Rich, and when his interview drops, was that what LA Reid did was like, okay, I need to get you guys. So he got Organized Noise to focus on Outkast. You guys do that. Jermaine Dupri, your main person is Usher, so you do most of the stuff. And Dallas was TLC, and who else? You could get a track, a filler on these albums, but the direction of the album would always start with Dallas or Jermaine Dupri or Organized Noise across their artists, and then you could jump in. Same thing they did with Donell Jones, like, okay, DF, you go ahead, do your thing with them. So they really wanted to almost make it as self-contained as possible, and to make it stand that worked because they were able to direct them. So yeah, but Jermaine Dupri did some really good stuff. with the
Did Daryl
TLC.
Simmons say anything? Because I know you interviewed Daryl Simmons. Did he have any comments for TLC? I can't remember now.
Yeah, so he said that what happened when they started up, that Chilli came as a backup dancer for, who did he say? She started as a backup dancer, and she kept, when she I can't remember, for the man and women, what was the name of the group? The one that they both died. The name escapes me. There's on the Face First group.
Oh, Damien Dane.
Damien Dane. So she was a backup dancer for Damien Dane, and she kept going around saying, I can sing. I can sing. Daryl said, "Look, man, who are you? This little." So she was always going around saying, I can sing this little bit. And when Pebbles came up with the concept of, his whole interview, I've just posted it up, but she got picked up by Pebbles, like, look, okay, we're looking to put the group together. And they just said, okay, why don't you come on and do this stuff? But they didn't expect them to blow up as they did, and they all had their different vibes and stuff. I need to. I should have watched. Yeah, I need to watch it again. Although I just reposted that segment of what he spoke about TLC and how and everything there. In fact, so if anyone, I wouldn't want you to do it while we're doing it live, but. It was something that he did mention. But so my number 10, starting off with my number 10 here, was from the 3D album. And I want to see who produced it, because it was actually produced by Mr. Babyface and Daryl Simmons, written and produced by them, and Hands Up.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Yeah, I do remember that. Hands Up.
Hands Up. Yes,
that's a very shock surprise choice.
No, as I said, we'd
surprised for that one.
Yeah, I did like the vibe. I loved how it and the thing about what it seemed as if LA and Daryl sort of went a little R-rated, a little sensual when they were doing stuff for TLC, because normally they sing a lot of melodies, lots of lovey-dovey stuff, but with TLC they seem to have gone a little bit R-rated. And more central, but Hands Up was that makes my number 10. So if you check that out on 3D, it was actually released as a video on that 3D album. That was their final album before On the Face.
And it wasn't a single, was it?
It was a single. It came out. Yeah, it was a single. They said the video was very similar to the Red Light Special video. And they got actually nominated for a Grammy for that song.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, has anyone seen the video for Hands Up?
I'll have to. I'll check that out. But like you say, it's not a track that I played a lot. I'll be honest.
Yes.
It's a track that I listened to a lot.
Okay.
Miss Anna Suave has dropped to 10. She's got. I'd assume it's Baby 10. Then she's got Creep. No Scrubs, Red Light Special, What About Your Friends, Digging on You, Waterfalls, Switch, Silly, and Get It Up. I don't think there's any order to that, I'll be honest. Maybe you could correct me for that. What else? TLC and Highland Place Mobsters debut albums hit hard in 90. They certainly did. Mr. or Mrs. Last Exit to Brooklyn. Yeah, they certainly did. The Highland Place Mobsters album. Maybe we'll have to do a, do a 10 to 1 of Highland Place Mobsters. it is a bit of a cult collector's album, that. It is.
So what's your number 10?
I've gone for a very deep album cut on the Crazy Sexy Cool. And again, it really is about Deborah Killings. She wrote the track. She's singing backing vocals. It's the ballad Take Our Time from the Crazy Sexy Cool album. Very real, deep R&B track. Slow jam.
Okay.
Very strong track. Nobody seems to mention that this evening. Take Our Time.
No one's going to be. I don't think anyone got that. I didn't like a lot of their ballads, but I love some of them. My number 9 is a track produced by Mr. DJ Marley Marl.
Ooh,
And as I said, most of my tracks are going to come from the first album.
interesting.
And I think one of the things, then it's probably what made TLC unique, was the fact that Left Eye was given so much time to shine. And she had 2 songs on the debut album that she was just rapping and the others were just singing background. And this is one of those songs. It's called That's the Way I Like It. I love the harmonies. I love the whole vibe. And you could tell it's Marley Marl. It's very similar to something that he would have done with LL. But it was, yeah. Yeah,
Look at that
that's
album
the
cover. It's so,
way
so
I
much fun.
like it. Yeah,
So much
that's
fun.
the way I like it. There's an expanded edition featuring the remix, and the remix should be counted into. But yeah, that's the way I like it. So that's the Marley Marl version track on that album. And Lisa was, just, as I said, because when you go back and listen to the catalog now, you think, oh, Lisa was really into this album, into the debut album, and then second album, 1 or 2 verses, and then just almost removed from it. And you can see why she probably thought, this is not for me. So that's the way I like it. At number 9, produced by Marley Marl. So my favorite number 1 to 10. Okay. So, and Max says, "Get It Up." Okay, that was a decent one. So, what about your number 9?
Again, I'm staying with the Crazy Sexy Cool album, and I've gone with the Jermaine Dupri produced "Kick Your Game."
Okay.
Strong, another very strong, like mid-tempo, funky album cut. Did get a remix. I think it had Craig Mack on the remix at the time. Hard to get promo, but another very, very solid track from this wonderful album.
Okay.
Kick Your Game.
Okay.
Let's look at the credits of this. Jermaine Dupri, Manuel Seal, Lisa Left Eye Lopes wrote the track.
Yeah, she wrote a rap.
Produced and remixed for Jermaine Dupri. Yeah. So that's my number 9. I much remember playing it a lot at the time.
Yeah, I think one of the things I like about Jermaine's production is that he has that sort of a bounce when he's in. Because you listen to that and it's he has. I think about what he did for New Edition's Home Again album, and he has a sort of a production bounce that you can sort of tell. So yeah, definitely a good track. My number 8 is from the Fan Mail album, which I didn't like too much, but number 8 was a song that actually T-Boz wrote, and I think as somebody who was. So she's been struggling with sickle cell anemia, the same with the guy from Mobb Deep. I've forgotten his name now. He's the one that's passed from Mobb Deep. Oh, I can't remember his name from Mobb Deep. That
Prodigy.
Passed. Prodigy, yes. So they have sickle cell. So that's sort of it happens to a lot of people from Black origin, where it's a hereditary. If you have 2 parents with AS and AS bloodstone, yeah, and if your child has one, it has to become sickle cell. So T-Boz suffered from that, and I thought the part of struggles is she wrote this song about maybe image and stuff like that, and it's I think one of the things about it's she had the right producer who could bring out the best of it, because what Dallas did was take this beautiful song that she wrote and make it universal, and that was some pretty. So it was definitely a beautiful song, definitely one of their
one of the standout tracks on the album.
Yes, but strange enough, it's not a TLC song. Because it doesn't sound like them, it doesn't feel like them. But T-Boz could have done that for a soundtrack. But yeah, it was I'm Pretty, but TLC written by T-Boz. So that's my number 8.
I look back and I think I only really played a couple of tracks from this album a lot back then. For me, the Unpretty There was a remix that got played in the clubs a lot, the Don't Look Any Further remix, which sampled Dennis Edwards' classic 80s groove. Don't Look Any Further, you know, with Saida Garrett. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
They sampled that and they sung over the top of it, and it sounded great in the club at the time. Didn't make my top 10 that though. It was in my honourable mentions.
Honourable mentions, okay.
Honourable mentions.
Was a shift away from the fun loving tunes? Yes. So she was saying that on Pretty and Waterfalls were a shift from the fun loving tunes. Yeah. And I think that was one of the things that was happening with TLC, is that they started off as this energetic group, but I think they were trying to sell records, the label, and the music changed, the direction they changed. And I don't know if they'd stayed in the lane with the first album, would they have gone as global as they did? Only who knows. Okay.
Hold on a minute. Hold on. Let me just give you a little taster of this. Hold on. We won't play the full song. You must have heard this remix. Give you 20 seconds of it if it starts. Because I've got a file here with all the remixes in. There's the groove. So yeah. And you've never heard that now?
Oh, I think I've heard it. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll stop that there because we don't want to.
Okay. They said they wanted to, when they started, they wanted to emulate BBD and well, that's what they were. They were a female version of it, and they actually did. They did well, but I think there's also a sense of what sells albums. You know, it's a business, and we have to always never forget that it's for a record industry. They invest millions because it's a business for them, and so they probably said, yeah, let's move it to that direction. Yeah. So what was your number 8?
My number 8, staying with this album, but I'm going to go with a remix. And this is it. I'll give you 20 seconds of it.
We got the ATL. Lopes in the house. TLC.
Untouchables remix.
It's that Untouchables flow. Eddie F, the remix.
Okay.
Yep. So you got Digging on You, Untouchables remix, which was on the CD singles, the 12-inch. Awesome remix, a lot of bass, good mid-tempo. It's a good song as an album mix, but I thought that remix took it to an even bigger level. So yeah, that was my number 8. I mean, the first 3 tracks are from this album. I can't really get past this album at the moment, Nnamdi.
Well, it does say there that well, they are the bottom 3. So, but it's probably the time.
Chimbeat said he's never heard this. I'm surprised.
Okay.
Surprised.
It was, but this was probably the time because Eddie F had left Uptown because because Andre Harrell had promised that Jodeci would be under his banner. And when Guy left, they kept Jodeci under Uptown. So he left and went to work at LaFace Records and became their senior VP of A&R. And of course, he got Donnell Jones signed to LaFace Records. And as you can see, a number of Untouchables remixes were done through that partnership as well. So so that's probably during that time when he was working there. My number 7, I'm going back to the debut album. and that was a song that was produced by Daryl Simmons and KO. And another Left Eye track, another track that it was hers, and everyone just supported her on that. Something You Wanna Know.
Yes, a good track.
I tell you, I mean, can you talk to me, babe? And she just, you know, it's like almost one of those I Need Love. I feel like, you know, I think if you go back and listen to that first album and see how immersed Left Eye was, and you can see why she started to feel withdrawn, and she complained about it because I don't think Dallas really wanted her to rap too much in subsequent albums, because she was really not happy with the fact that her role was limited. And you only need to go back to the first album to recognize that, because they made her in this one. She had her songs. She was integral in the whole stuff, and then subsequently she became like a feature rapper. Okay, let's just get a little Left Eye verse there. Okay, good. Let's go back to singing. But if you just, as I said, Something You Want to Know, I just loved the R&B vibe, the singing, and then I just loved to have flow in it. So yeah, that's my number 7.
It's interesting because I must admit, at the time I was buying the singles. I'd never bought the album at the time. I got the album years later. And that probably would have made my 10 if I'd have listened to that track at the time more. But that track's in my honourable mentions. You mentioned actually, it hasn't made my top 10. I'll give that away. But it's a very, very strong track.
Yeah, Martin was saying, what do you think of the Digging on You video mix?
I'd have to go back and
yeah,
I'd have to listen to it unless it's in this pack here. This pack of mixes I've got here has got there's a Soul Power mix. They did some mixes. There's LA's live mix, and there's some CJ McIntosh probably club mixes. What's this one? Going Home dub. Yeah. Anyway, so that was your number. Was that your number 7?
That was my number 7. Yes.
My number 7. We finally get to this album. We finally, and it's at number 7. Is What About Your Friends? What About Your Friends?
Wow.
Be around. Heavy Dallas Austin track. Superb. There was several mixes. There was the extended mixes from Dallas Austin, and I think there was some OMP, Outcast type mixes that I got them, but I was never a big fan of them, to be quite honest. I preferred the more heavy New Jack original of the album mix. Love the video as well.
Yeah. I mean, but as I said, that was, I think, was that? Let me see. Was that their debut single? No, was that their debut single was Ain't Too Proud to Beg? Okay.
It might have been the second single.
It was the third one, because it was Ain't Too Proud to Beg, Baby, Baby, Baby. Then What About Your Friend? Yeah, no, I think Ain't Too Proud to Beg was the whole, when we saw them with the condoms, so that they got our attention. But What About Your Friend was, they have that, I don't know what sample that is with the guitar. Teddy uses it quite a lot.
James Bond, anyway.
No, it wasn't a James Bond one, but it's, What About Your Friends? But yeah, that was a definitely good one. Mr.
You seem very surprised. I can see you think, oh, damn, I may have left that one out.
Oh, did I? My number 6, I went back to Fan Mail, and actually it was a track that, it was a track that, and somebody needs to tell me if this song came out before or after or during the same time that Destiny's Child had a similar type of track. And this was a track that, in a way, it was, let me see, was this their first single off that? Yeah, it was their first single off Fan Mail. And, it was one of the, it was the era where they started to have those type of dissing men songs. And it was almost, if you think about TLC, that would have been up their alley. And it's No Scrubs, and there was a group of guys called Spotty Thieves, and they had No Pigeons. So I think I enjoyed the clap back to that track. But I think it was a it was a good song. It really it was good for that time and that era. You know, we're looking at '99 and stuff like that. I want to see if it became its third number one single. So it got to number one on the. Let me see, and eight on the top 10 singles on Billboard 100. So, but did did yeah did could anyone tell if Destiny's Child's Bugaboo and Bills came out before No Scrubs or came out afterwards? Because I don't know.
It wouldn't surprise me if all them songs that you're talking about were all shopped around to either TLC or Destiny's Child or whoever the producer was working with, because they
It was
all
Shakespeare, yeah, and Candice Burns that did that. But that was can let me see, Craig Shakespeare. If that track, yeah. So he did Bills. Let me see when that came out. Yeah, it was the same around the same time. I don't have. Yeah, it was the same time with Bills, and he did Bugaboo. So it looks as if, because what I'm saying is because it felt like, you know, yes, you could tell that there was the same type of stuff, but it was the same type of thing. So it was definitely. Oh, what did just happen?
we 50 pence. But anyone got 50 pence for the meter, for the electricity meter? Just run out of electricity.
They all came out in '99. So yeah, so Candy wrote it. So it was good for, but I don't know who's, yeah. So I'm wondering if Bugaboo and Bills both when you play Bills. I wonder if Bills it was US Hot 100. It's actually gotten to number one. So Bills actually was a number one single and probably did better than Scrubs.
You got
But
there
that was-
again, Nnamdi. You got there again.
But that was the time when Erica Boo's You Gotta Call Tyrone. So there was a sense of let's write about bad men kind of thing. And actually, you know, they were good songs. So, you know, if you're not a Tyrone, or if you're not a Bugaboo, hey, then what's the point? That's not a problem. But yeah, Left Eye had a really good dope verse on there. But Anna, in previous years, Left Eye would have had more than just the rap verse. She would have done a third of the track, a lot more. But she started to, okay, Left Eye, a little rap there. Okay, good, back to the song. And that's where she became like a part-time person. And, you know, so that was just, I think that was the dilemma. But yeah, Scrubs is number 6 for me.
I've got great memories of that. I was, you know, in clubs a lot.
Oh, thanks, Joseph.
When that track came out, you know, it's very of its time. You know, the sound of that, the production. I like the way it kind of raises up the melodies in the background. They go up and it swirls along. And but I will say, it didn't make my top 10, Nnamdi.
Okay. It's really amazing. A lot of people don't like Destiny's Child.
It's in my honourable mentions, No Scrubs, because I do have fond memories of it at the time. Maybe I've heard it one too many. A bit like Nnamdi was saying with High Fives. I just can't handle it. Maybe he's heard it one too.
No, I didn't know. That's my number 2 record. She's Playing Hard to Get. It was probably the track that I would have said that to.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, Just Can't Handle It was my second track. Yeah, so what's your number 6?
Number 6, I've gone for. They didn't do too many cover versions, did they? But this cover version has made my number 6. It was on the Poetic Justice soundtrack. It had some great remixes from the Three Boys from Newark. It's Get It On. It's made it my number 6. Have you
Get It On.
Get It On. Should I get a little taste of the remix here? Send me remixes. Radio remix, should we go for? Let's have a listen to this. Give you 20 seconds of this. Yeah, big snare beat there. Get it up, sorry, not Get It On.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot going on in that mix. Get It Up from the time. It was written by the time, of course.
Ashley says no scars became a repetitive for me. Okay, so you got okay. So going back to, let me see what album this was. Let me see what album this track was on. I think. Um, so my number five, it wasn't on fan mail, so I would have thought it was from fan mail. No, it was on Crazy Sexy Cool. So this song, at the time, I didn't like the song. I think it was. It felt depressing to me, and the video. I didn't realize how much they spent on making that video, over $1 million. Probably
You talking about your number?
my number five.
Number five, okay.
So it just felt really. It felt like a downer kind of video. It did have a very strong, powerful message, but it took a while before I really got into it. And actually, I had to put it in number five because it really made, it was good that they went back to the message. It went back to what they were known for. It was about inspiring and having a message. And yes, Miss Savagnon, it is Waterfalls. Because it's one of those things where this is what TLC were good at. So that when you look at On Pretty, when you listen to On Pretty and Waterfalls, it was very similar to that first album when they came out about, don't, using condoms and about your dignity and stuff like that. And going back to that type of stuff where, but as I said, the organized noise production, it just felt like, oh man, this song again. I felt a little. It always brings me down listening to it, but no, on reflection, it continues to be an inspiring song. So yeah, that was Waterfalls for number five.
Never really liked that record, Nnamdi, I'll be honest.
I know.
It didn't even make me honourable mentions. I'm not
it's one of their biggest.
Or anything,
it's one of their biggest songs. He said he'd make you honourable mentions.
Do you know what I think it is? It's the production sound and the vibe of that. And I think if you're in a car, if you're cruising along a road, say in the south of America, heading towards Atlanta on a long road, that sound makes perfect sense when you're there. But if you're over here and away from it, it just I'd need to be there. I'd need to be south through Texas, through Atlanta. Which I have been there, and I do get it. But it's a very, that Outcast sound for me is a very Marmite sound. You either love it or you're just not into it. So
I lived in Alabama for a number of years, and Atlanta was just a couple of hours away. And I was in America throughout the 90s up to 2002. So it was one of those things where you're there, you're in the mix of it and stuff like that. As I said, at the time I didn't like it like most people, but on reflection, that's why it's one of those things where you listen to it and you can't help but not remember the
I mean, to challenge you a bit, Nnamdi, you said like you had to put it in. You didn't have to.
No. I did because, as I said, there was something I had to recognize the message and actually, as I said, it's one of all their songs stands out. I mean, as I said, there are lots of other songs that, I mean, half the songs you've played I didn't put in my top 10 that you've written because, so I knew that this was a really good one. But we've done this before where 20, 30 years ago, I wouldn't have put it in. On reflection, I listen to it now, and it's like I receive it differently. What did you get for number five?
I'll play you this. This is my number five, Killer Remix. Hold on. Here we go. Wait for this drops in. Once this bit drops in. Here we go. This blew my head away when I first heard it.
Oh, you said back. Okay.
There you go. That's my number. What's that? Number 4 or 5? Number 5, Nnamdi. Kelly
Number
12
5.
remix, Jermaine Dupri remix. Again from the first album. Crazy track. Very fun,
Okay.
great track.
Okay.
You could argue
Okay.
the lyrics are a bit they're a bit juvenile now, but that mix for me had to go in there.
So I hope as you guys are watching, when we're doing this stuff, we're not doing remixes because it doesn't. It takes away. So he's doing it today, but we'll put it a disclaimer that remixes, unless we're doing it
Tell me,
specific,
he didn't give me the
unless we're
memo.
doing
He didn't say it was
no,
album.
no. As I said for today, but unless we're doing specific remix, it's so number 4 is a track by off the 3D album, as I mentioned, I wasn't too pleased with it, but I was able to pick 2 tracks from it, and actually, I thought this track.
Hold on a minute. Oh, yeah, I'm getting mixed up with the other album, Fan Mail. So you're going for another album from the 3D album?
Yeah, so I've.
There's only one other track on that. There's only one other good track on that album. I hope you picked it here now.
And this was a track that I think should have been the lead single of that album, because I think it, when you think about this, their first album they did when Lisa wasn't around. This was probably one of only 2 tracks that she did feature on that album. They should have released this as their first album single, and it was produced by Organized Noise, but it was a lot better production than Waterfalls, in my opinion. And that's Give It To Me While It's Hot. Such an amazing track. When it's almost criminal that they didn't release that track, because it had all of them singing and performing, and it had an amazing Organized Noise production. But Give It To Me While It's Hot, I think Mr. Sabagnon mentioned it earlier, is my number 4 track. And as I said, I was able to go through the 4 of their 5 albums to be able to pick my top 10, and Give It To Me While It's Hot was number 4.
I need to go back and listen to it because I don't even recall listening to that.
You didn't recall listening to it. Give It To Me While It's Hot, yes.
What number?
Number 4.
You've chose that at number 4.
I picked it at number 4, yes.
I'll tell you what I put at number 4. And this blows it away. It'll start. Now we're talking, Nnamdi.
Okay.
Now we're talking. Oh, what a track this is.
Okay, yeah.
This is a babyface masterpiece. That's instrumental, actually, but you get
okay.
You get Red Light Special, deservedly in anyone's TLC top 5. Who's not put that in the top 5 this evening? Come on.
It didn't even make my honorable mentions. That's how much I didn't. It didn't even make my honorable mentions. It didn't even make my honorable mentions at all. So, yes.
Oh, dearie me. You know what?
Yeah.
That babyface might never come on your channel now because of that.
It didn't make my honorable mentions. And I think one of the things, it was an okay track, but as much as I love my R&B, and as much as I am
someone give Nnamdi a yellow card, please.
As much as I love my R&B, and as much as I love my slow tracks, I was never a fan of that one. And then or now, it was give us the. It was a very predictable track. Yeah, it was a very predictable track.
Predictable track.
It was a predictable track. It was very. I think these were some of the tracks where he could have played that for anyone else, and it would have been the same type of hands up in the air. Let's go with that. So yeah, Yeah, it didn't make my. Didn't make my top. It might have made my top 10, 20 if we did that. But yeah.
Listen, when you hear about today's discussion of how we miss 90s R&B or the real feel of R&B, and you know this younger generation who are making R&B coming up now don't seem to quite get it. That is one of the, when you listen to that, that's what we're missing, Nnamdi.
I'm not. As I said, they they put out 5 albums and some over 60, 70 tracks, and it was a big track. It was a big album. I think I probably would have had Digging on Me above that if I had picked either one of them on there. My number 3
the video was it's a very edgy video as well.
Yeah, but I wasn't picking the best videos. I was picking the song, and I thought it was it was a good song. It just wasn't one of my favorite songs. My number 3 is a track that you've already picked.
You're getting crucified in the comments, by the way. No, it's normally Sheldon who's getting crucified.
My number 3 is Back to the First album, and I think it was probably one of to me it was the best song on their first album, and it was I just loved the whole production. I loved the whole vibe of it, and it was What About Your Friends? Just love the whole thing. Even the message. I mean, we didn't get many songs about friends. I can always remember the Houdini stuff and the Jodie Watley stuff, and so having a song about friends is always a good one and a good way of putting it. And this is when they just look like, man, these are just awesome girls just coming out and just kicking it and stuff. So yeah, this was my favorite song from them on their debut album, which is What About Your Friends.
Wow, it's pretty high up, that. I wasn't expecting
Yeah. As I said, it was my favorites from that album. Yes. So what's your number 3?
That's where it gets hard now. Because I've just dropped a killer track there, Red Light Special at number 4, and I've stayed again with this album, and I've gone with the debut single Creep. From it, Dallas Austin again. Again, it's a 90s R&B classic. Still stands the test of time today. I still get them goosebumps when I hear it. It hasn't dated much.
Yeah,
still holds its own. Great memories of hearing it in a club. Strong track for me, that number 3.
Yeah, definitely a good track, and definitely a very memorable track. Not only the video with them in the silk pajamas, but the horns that just go throughout the whole album and stuff. Okay. Number two for me is finally going back to the Crazy Sexy Cool album, and it was probably, and actually, it's probably one of my favorite songs on that album. And actually, for a while, this guy became, one of my favorite producers because he seemed to have a good level of consistency. Loved the stuff he did, not just, with his main artists, not only with his own label, but when he did stuff for other artists who were outside of his label banner, you could feel the consistency in the production and in the writing, and that's Jermaine Dupri. And Kick Your Game. I just loved the whole. It was one of my favorite tracks on that album. Loved how Lisa was rapping. Miss Lisa looked. Loved the whole track. Loved the fact that T-Boz and Chilli both had distinct verses on the stuff, and then the bounce, that sudden bounce that you get with Jermaine Dupri when he's doing his production. There's Kick Your Game. It's a criminal that they didn't release a video for that.
Strong track, and it's even surprised it's as high as number 2, Nnamdi. Very surprised. So how many tracks have you got? How many tracks have you picked so far in your from your 10 to 2 from this album? would you say?
That was 2.
And which ones are them?
That was
Which is
hold
the
on.
track then?
Hold on. That
Is
was
any between 10 and 3? Is any other tracks from this album?
no, only 2. Only two from that album. 2 from Fan Mail, and 3D, and 4 from 3 or 4 from on the TLC tip. But this, SAS, Kick Your Game did bring it. And Mac, you put Waterfalls in number 2. Wow, you're braver than I am. Okay. Red Light still had to be some sexy red. Okay, I see the irony here. Was T-Boz red or was he blonde? Okay. So what about your number 2 then, Stevie?
My number 2, very feel good, happy track. Memories of Go to London and buying this record. Here we go. Remix. From this album.
Okay. So don't be surprised when half the songs are missing when it just cuts off.
That's the remix to Baby Baby Baby. Again, very fun poppy R&B track. Just sums up this whole feel good vibe to this album for me.
Okay.
It's a very catchy record. It's always stayed with me, and it's found a very high place of number 2.
Okay. So well, we can go and do our honorable mentions before we go to number 1. I mean,
yellow card for that.
Yeah, well, I wonder which one for having that as number 2.
I don't know.
Yeah, so 2. So my honorable mentions, I had. Let me see what album that is, because I had To the Back, with really good track, and Ain't Too Proud to Beg. So those are both from the Ooh and the TLC tip. So you can think about. Picked about 5 songs from that. There's one track that was on 3D that was produced by Rodney Darkchild and Turntable that I thought was pretty good. Not strong enough to make my top 10, but it was definitely a decent track by them to put up there. Another track that I went back to from Fan Mail, which, and as I said, this one was one of those tracks where is it here? Is it in Fan Mail? Yeah, My Life. So it was a Jermaine Dupri track that I thought, okay, wasn't too bad, that I put out there. A track that, let me see, was this on? No, I think this was on Crazy Sexy Cool, my final honorable mention. And who did this production? I think it was Jermaine Dupri as well. Which Silly Ho? What album was that on? It wasn't on Fan Mail. Oh yeah, it was on Fan Mail. Silly Ho. It was actually Dallas Austin and Krypton who produced that one. That I thought was it was a College Park bounce Atlanta type of vibe. But yeah, so those were my honorable mentions. As I said, I didn't have Red Light Special or Baby 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 in the I just thought that it almost felt like, okay, we need another hit record. Babyface, can you put something down there? Let's write this and then sing. Didn't feel authentic. So going back to my number 10, top 10, Hands Up. Number 9 was That's the Way We Like 'Em. Number 8 was On Pretty. Number 7 is Something You Want to Know. 6 was No Scrubs. 5 was Waterfalls. 4 was Give It to Me While It's Hot. Number 3 is What About Your Friends. Number 2 is Kick Your Game. And the number 1 track is the But the song that really took them to another level, not only the production, the video, not only just the singing, it was um, yeah, the whole vibe of this song. I mean, you listen to it now, it's probably their most memorable song. It's probably one of those songs when you think about the 90s. No, the 90s had those types of call out songs where when you hear it start, you know what song it is. And this was Creep. You know, it doesn't. You hear that the horns calling out, and you know that you know what it is. You know, get to arms. It's almost like what else would I relate it to? Thinking about yeah, it's just an amazing track. Red Light Specials number one. Okay, yeah, Creep was just yeah. It's I listen to it now.
No, it's
I
the
listened
superb.
to the I listened to the Untouchables remix, and I thought it was good. But I'm thinking they took away the horns from the Untouchables from the when the Eddie F did his one, and I thought, well, actually, the horns was what made the songs. You know, there's some tracks that you're like, you know, do they really need a remix? Do they need a remix as good as it is? So yeah, that's my favorite TLC song right there is Creep. Because I when that came out, I'm like, oh goodness, man, TLC have come back looking all sexy, looking cool. Um, and just that whole thing was like, okay, I rushed out and bought the album when that came out. Didn't play around. So yeah, Dallas Austin, probably his one of his best productions ever. So your honorable mentions, then you're 9 to 10, you're 10 to 1.
I just realised what hasn't made your top 10 number, which is a crime in itself, but we'll get to that shortly. Right, well, my honourable mentions were, as I
Best
mentioned
dancing
earlier,
in pajamas ever.
Unpretty was one of them. The Don't Look Any Further remix. A track from 3D, which again you've not even mentioned, a track called Girl Talk, which I thought was exceptionally strong record. Girl Talking, great production on that. Sleigh Ride, the remixes of it as well. I've got No Scrubs in there. I've got from their the duo album, the crowdfunded album, the single Way Back featuring Snoop. It's like a G-Funk type production. Really enjoyed that. I've got If I Was Your Girlfriend from Crazy Sexy Cool. Probably Sheldon might have picked that one. Something You Want to Know from the debut album. And I've also thrown in the Waiting to Exhale track as well. This Is How It Works. You know, nice track. Number 10, I picked Take Your Time. Number 9 was Kick Your Game. Number 8, Digging on You, the Untouchables remix. Number 7, What About Your Friends, extended remix. Number 6, Get It On, the remixes. Number 5, Hat to the Back, the Jermaine Dupri extended mix. Number 4, Red Light Special. Number 3, Creep, fantastic record. It should be a number 1, but I wonder what's number 1. Number 2, Baby Baby Baby, the extended remix. And what makes number 1? Well, I may have mentioned this story on a previous podcast, but there I was on a Saturday morning. The 12-inch singles, new import records in the rack. It was there in front of the thing, and I picked it up. And I'd never heard of this group before, and all I saw was this, like you say, this big hat with a condom on, and I'm thinking, what the hell? I'm just thinking that's the most bizarre. It looked too kiddie, and I put it back in the racks. I didn't even bother going over to the guy at the counter and saying, look, can you play me this record, please? So I go home, not buying this record. Sunday evening comes along, and my good DJ friend, Leaky Fresh, who was DJing he had a show on a Sunday night on Sunset Radio. He had a 9 for the 90s New Jack Swing countdown every week. The top imports. And he played it as his number 1 for the first time. And I'm in bed. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. I nearly fell out of bed, Nnamdi. I nearly fell out of bed hearing this. And I'm thinking, my God, I left this record in the record shop. I was on the phone first thing Monday morning going, put that record in a bag for me. I mean, if you're a New Jack Swing fan and you hear this record for the first time, you never get past it. You know, you never ever get past this record. You know, let's have a little. This is just one of the greatest remixes of all time. Lately bass. Doesn't get any better than this nowadays. Doesn't get any better. Untouchables mix. Defy anybody to get a better track than that. And that's my number one, folks. No contest.
Okay, as I said, yeah. I guess if we remixes can make a difference to a track.
To be
but,
fair, the album mix was amazing as well, and it's not even in your top 10.
It was my honorable mention.
Honorable mention.
It was in my honorable mentions. It's because I think I had Hands Up. That's where I mean I listened to the track and I'm thinking, okay, this is Hands Up. That's the way I like him. I'm Pretty. Something You Want to Know. No Scrubs. Waterfalls. Yeah, I mean, Give It to Me was hot.
As a new, you're a new, as a New Jack Swing fan into the production sounds of New Jack Swing. Think of how you felt when you first heard. I'm just putting this out to the viewers tonight. When you first heard that, it must have blew your mind. I mean, I couldn't get a mobile phone out and download it. You heard it on the radio. You had to. I was running. I wasn't walking. I was running to the record shop the next weekend to make sure I got that record, Nnamdi, because I thought if I don't get it, I'll probably never see it again. That's what it was like, mate. You can download you can go on Spotify and play it 100 times.
No, I think because my first 5 albums that I got when I got a CD player was the TLC on a Sexy Tip. It was the Tony, the yellow one, the one with the yellow. What's that? Is it The Revival. It was also, what was it? En Vogue, Born to Sing. So these were 3. I got the Dangerous album and Peaceful. So it was almost like my dad got me this Sony CD that I could carry. And so like, well, we need CDs because all we had was his vinyls at the house. And so I went out. I was the only first 5 I was able to 5. And I don't know if my brother still, when I left America, I left all my CDs with him, and I don't know if he's thrown them away or so. But those were the original CDs that I took with me, and so the TLC album is really classic. So I picked a lot from that. But as I mentioned, when I'm listening to them now, as you know, 'cause I can't recapture 1991, 92. So what I can recapture is actually if I listen to them now, how do I remember listening to them? And that's how it was. It just felt like, yeah, okay. Ain't Too Proud of It was good, but I preferred What About Your Friend? I mean, as I am now. And I don't think I would have picked Something You Want to Know 10, 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I would have picked Hat to the Back and Ain't Too Proud to Beg and those ones. But now, listening to it, yeah, lots of album covers actually make I prefer those ones now. But yeah, so that's definitely it's strange. I thought we were going to get Creep as number 1, but
it's a shame we've not heard Sheldon's. Sheldon's top 10 would have been as equally as bizarre as yours. I think we've not got his.
Yeah, they are tough. They are a tough group to try and predict because they weren't. It's not as straightforward. So they are.
What they've got is a fantastic variety of sounds and songs and production there to go at, and I think we've reflected that in both charts.
Yeah. So as I said, they're not as straightforward. But as I said, What About Your Friends was a great hit. Yeah, a great hit. Dallas Housen said he wanted to make noise music with TLC. Yeah, and I think they will go down in legacy. They'll go down in history as a definitely a different group. I think I always wondered if after Left Eye died, if they could have gotten um, as somebody to TLC featuring somebody who raps, and and just try to see if that worked. It's hard to sometimes when you're a three-person group and one leaves, it's hard to really see a duo doing it. I think if you're a group of four and you went to three, I think you can just pull it off. But going from three to two, it just aesthetically doesn't look as good. They could have just gotten somebody, but money wise, I believe it's if you bring in somebody, you split the money three ways, and they could just play a song in the background, have verses went in the background. So yeah, but that's it's a good. It was definitely good to give them their props, and as I said, they are one of the most celebrated R&B groups, especially females around. I think it's best they didn't replace Lisa. Yeah, so Joseph, it wasn't about replacing Lisa. I think they could have just gotten somebody. Rock bands do that all the time. When Slash and Axl Rose and Guns N' Roses had a fallout, he got rid of Slash and brought another guitarist. Sometimes when the lead vocal, look at Van Halen. They've had two different lead singers and as well. So rock bands do it, and they still pull it off. R&B, look at In Vogue. You've got Dawn who left, and you had Maxine who's left, and they've got Rhoda, who's been in the group longer than the other two were in the group, and so it can work if you still have the core. But as I said, I just thought that I just thought when they lost Lisa and they just didn't bring somebody else to support that, it made a difference. But anyway, how was this evening, Stevie? It's different without Sheldon.
Yeah, David Yarden dropped his top 10. Number 10, If I Was Your Girlfriend. Number 9, Fake People. Number 8, That's the Way We Like 'Em. You picked that one, didn't you, Nnamdi? Number 7, Hat to the Pack. Number 6, Ain't Too Proud to Beg. Number 5 is Digging on You. He's got number 4, Get It Up. Number 3, What About Your Friends? Red Light Special at number 2. And Baby, Baby, Baby at number 1. We are fast reaching Nnamdi's David Foster sleepy bag time as we wrap up this podcast. The disappointing news is, folks, we might not be back for another 2 to 3 weeks yet. We've got, I believe, you're at the John B concert next Sunday night, aren't you, Nnamdi?
Yes, John B is coming
and then
to
the following
he's in
Sunday
London. Yeah,
is the Euro 2024 final. I don't think England will be there where they're playing, but I think a lot of us will be watching that. So it could be 3 weeks till we're back. So
yes.
So that's a good time, a good few weeks to miss us. So
Yeah.
we'll see what we've got prepared in. It gives us enough time to prepare our next podcast top 10 or idea. Who knows? Teddy Riley might pop in 3 weeks. You just never know.
Yeah.
He might pop in. Babyface might pop on. You just never know. Never know what stars Nnamdi attracts to halftime chat.
But what you would see, but
on Thursday evening, you've got us on Saturday, so next week. So it's not like you won't be able to catch us live Thursday night with Beckwith, Saturday night with Miss Crystal J. Johnson. And I'm sure she'll have a lot of untold stories of her time at Uptown Records, working with Mary J. Blige. So that should be pretty interesting.
Yes. Okay, guys. Well, what is it? What ain't with Goody Mob? Okay, so Mr. Antonio is saying, Diamond Onyx, hello. What it is, what it ain't with Onyx, with Goody Mob. Yeah, I think they featured on some other things. And I think just a known fact that if you remember MC Light's Roughneck, Left Eye was supposed to do the second verse, and she recorded her verse, and unfortunately, management said no,
Oh,
unless they get 80% of the track. And it wasn't, it was 80%. And so Left Eye, Mucho, and Akil would have had to split the other 20%. And so they said no. And so MC Light just did this track by herself. It went, I think, it went gold and or platinum. And then Left Eye used that verse in House Party 3, the word for word. And somebody, when Mucho mentioned it in an interview, somebody saw that segment of her in House Party 3 doing her roughneck verse, and they isolated her vocals, put it on the production, and it sounded like it should have sounded like. So sometimes labels can spoil classics from happening and stuff. Yeah, she was in Freedom for Panther. That was another good stuff that she was in.
good evening,
As I said,
Diamond Onyx.
yeah, Left Eye was a star in her own right and stuff. And I don't even know that rap verse ended up on the song. Yeah, it did end up in the. It was House Party 3 that the rap ended in. But anyway, so we all today, but hopefully, when we're back in 3 weeks. But as I said, Thursday, will come live, and you just never know. I'm not. It seems as if I'm live every week anyway. So we'll see you not too far. But any ideas for our next episode, you can drop them in, because we haven't picked them in yet. So if there's anything that you can think about, what we haven't done, it'd be great to see some ideas as we continue to celebrate R&B and New Jack Swing on the channel. But Stevie, well, hopefully England, as I said, if England had crashed out today, we probably would have been back in 2 weeks' time. But hopefully they go all the way to the final. That would definitely be something worth celebrating. But here, and on Sheldon's behalf as well, we want to thank you, and we'll definitely see you guys. But you can keep dropping stuff in the chat about what you think we should do next. All right. Take care.
Thank you so much.
All right. Best